And just a reminder, thank you very much. A reminder at home, if you want to get involved in the argument, you can argue along using our hashtag BBCQT, either Facebook or Twitter, or you can text us 83981. Push the red button to see what others are saying. Now, our first question tonight is from Gemma Collins, please. Gemma Collins.
In light of recent events, can Theresa May still call her government strong and stable?
Can Theresa May still call her government strong and stable? Stella Creasy.
No. But this is the terribly sad thing, isn't it? Because actually this is our country and this chaos is affecting all of our lives. It's not just about the lack of grip over where the direction of the country is going. It's all the everyday issues that aren't being dealt with, whether it is the rising inequality in our society, whether it is the issues in our schools in terms of their funding. I'm sure Justin would have a word on that. You know, I talk to teachers who are now paying for supplies in their schools. I talk to police officers in London desperately worried about the fact we're losing 3,000 officers from our streets. These are all big challenges that we have to deal with. And instead, what's happening is the backbenchers of the Conservative Party are defining all of our shared futures. So people may laugh, but I am desperately worried about this. And let me be very, very clear about this, because if Theresa May wants to accept what we all know is inevitable and that she needs to throw in the towel, there's certainly many of us who would like to step up, called Labour, to run this country instead and fight for the future of this country.
She should throw in the towel, Justin Greening.
Totally disagree. I think the bottom line is that we're a government that is steering this country through a very difficult Brexit negotiation. But alongside that, we have a domestic agenda that is also shifting our country in the right direction. You mentioned education, Stella. Well, there are now 1.8 million more children in good or outstanding schools, including some here in Croydon, than there were in 2010. When you look at people's take-home pay, we've taken millions of people out of paying tax altogether and raised the personal allowance for around 30 million people. We've got more people in work than we've had for many years, an unemployment rate that's about half of the Eurozone average. And what I'm saying is that people are in jobs and in work, the economy is doing well. I'm also saying that when we look ahead to the future, we're making sure that our young people are coming through the education system with the education skills they need.
Hang on, both. Let me just ask Gemma Collins what she meant by the question.
I mean, like, with regards to her not even to have a stable cabinet together, people leaving, distrust, they're arguing with each other and not focusing on what's actually happening.
And when Justin Greening gives you a list of statistics about things that are, does that not convince you?
Not really, no.
Not really?
When in the news something's happening every single week, every day, another problem, it's all noise just to cover it up.
Justin, I'll come back to you. Kirsty also.
I think the point you made, Gemma, about the news is very interesting. We're living in a very different news environment than we've ever lived in before. When I came on Question Time for the first time, about 8 years ago, Twitter didn't exist. The social media world in which we exist today does give us a sense of being destabilised. Things seem to be happening every day that we can't keep up with.
Well, like 2 cabinet ministers resigning in a week.
OK. Point taken, David. There are 2 totally different issues here. One cabinet minister resigned for one reason and another for another reason. And they are... I don't think they relate, either of them, to Theresa May's current government. They are 2 separate issues, and which we could discuss further. OK. Charles Moore.
No, I think they do both relate to Theresa May's government, because President L.B. Johnson said that the first skill a politician has to have is arithmetic. And what he meant by that was you have to add up what votes you've got and see whether you can win. And, of course, because the Tories did much less well than expected in the election, they haven't got strong and stable government, and they can't, because the arithmetic doesn't work. It's very knife-edge. However, I think May is making a mistake about how to deal with that, because I think what you have to do to your own team and to the country is you have to sort of be upfront about that and say how difficult your position is, and concentrate on the things that really matter and be strong about them and say, look, this is what I believe in and this is what I'm going to do. And what I feel that's not happening, particularly about Brexit, so we don't actually know what way we're really going about it. And I think that what you see with the government, and this comes from the top downwards, and you can't blame the lower people for this really, is you see it's governed by fear. So what it's always thinking is, help, we're going to get into more trouble if we do this, so we better do that, or we better not do this. And so actually what's going on is its room for manoeuvre is narrowing all the time.
All right.
And I really do think that's a very unfortunate position to be in.
Aditya, I'll come to you. Justin Green, you just want to answer Charles Moore's point as a fellow Conservative.
Well, we are a minority government, but I think in practice, most of what we deliver on a day-to-day basis is on legislation that's already been passed. So, Gemma, I know I gave lots of statistics, but actually it's because I wanted to give you some actual facts of what we're achieving, because I recognise sometimes when we make our arguments, it's hard to, frankly, pull out what's really going on. So these are the facts of what we're doing on the ground, and I absolutely, yes, you won't see many of them in the paper because they're good news. But what I'm saying, Charles, is what we see day to day is a government that is getting on with some substantial reform. If you look what we're doing in education on introducing T-levels, so for the first time, young people post-16 actually have some proper choices between not just an academic route, but a technical education route. Those things are actually happening on the ground, and we're getting on with that, and they will make a profound improvement to the opportunities for our young people in the years to come.
But the whole is so much weaker. It's weaker than the sum of the parts, if you see it. It's not. The question is, you always want to know of a government, is where are you leading our country? And this is particularly true when we're about to make a massive change in the whole composition and constitution of our country. We need to know now, we need to know really in the next 3 or 4 weeks, what are we going to do to achieve the Brexit we voted for?
OK, you, sir, I'll come to you now. Yes.
The PM has failed to lead the country. She had one job to prove herself, and that was to fire Priti Patel. And then Priti Patel had to resign. Now, we have a government where it's led by a person who cannot even fire someone who has broken the ministerial code. Now, but at least there is still a chance for her to redeem herself by firing Boris. Then we can move on to if that doesn't happen, trust me, she has until Christmas and the government will fall. Okay. She has to redeem herself.
All right, we'll maybe come to that in more detail at each other on the main first point about whether the government is strong and stable.
Well, the straight answer to that is obviously it's not strong and stable, it's weak and increasingly wobbly. To lose 2 cabinet ministers in a week, goodness me, I wonder what the next couple of weeks will bring. But the one bit of your question that I would take issue with, Gemma, is when you say in light of recent events. Because what I see going on with this government is a culmination of 7 years of doing the wrong thing over and over again. So they've said that they will fix the economy. Actually, they've tanked it so badly that we're going for the biggest squeeze on our living standards since the Napoleonic Wars. Theresa May says she's there for the just about managing, and she takes money off the poor and she sends disabled people to their deaths. They say that they're about business. They say people go to fitness for work assessments. They're told they're fit for work. They lose their money, and then they end up seriously ill. That happens over and over again. If I can finish, the other thing that they've said is they are pro-business, they're pro-competition, and then they take us into a referendum which they bungle. They don't get the result they want, and so we end up heading towards Brexit. And they can't even manage Brexit.
OK, hold on. Don't shout out. Wait, stick your hand up and make your point if you want to. Yes, you, sir. Go on.
We voted for Brexit, and Theresa May is fulfilling that pledge. Now, you use inflammatory language. You're like the Donald Trump of The Guardian. You use inflammatory language saying that disabled people... You're basically accusing people that vote Conservative and Conservative representatives, such as myself, as sending people to their deaths because they're disabled. That's disgusting.
So I can actually introduce you to some of the people who are disabled activists.
We can all introduce people to each other.
Who can tell you about their friends.
But you use language like Donald Trump.
I bear very little resentment to Donald Trump.
Inflammatory rubbish.
OK, Stella Creasy.
This is the problem, though, isn't it? People are now very angry. They're very scared because I have being in an unusual position to agree with Charles Moore. Nobody knows the future direction of this country, and whether it is to do with Brexit and 18 months on literally having no idea, the Prime Minister promised us certainty, we don't have that, or it's the simple, you talk about facts, Justin, most people here will recognise there is too much months at the end of their money, that actually we are now a country that is more indebted than ever. Who here manages to pay off their credit cards every month?
You would have
Who here actually recognises the cost of living is going up and up and up and is worried about what is going to happen next? And you're looking at a government saying, lead us. And instead you're seeing rogue minister after minister, story after story. I understand where you're coming from, Gemma. I think what we have to do, though, is ask for action, because it cannot continue like this. It's just too dangerous.